Now, what do we got? What do we got on what do we got today? Let's jump right into it.
Today we got some pretty big. I don't want to say they're pretty dense. So usually whenever news like this comes out, there's this habit of of news coming out like every week for certain games or like subjects. And I typically try to avoid doing that because I don't want to have every show be about the same thing every week. So with this one, I'm glad I waited because a lot of information came out about it last week. And that's the Epic Game Store.
Oh yeah. This is the one that's trying to compete with Steam, right?
Yes. So Epic, the guys who the developers that made Fortnite and the Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Recently launched their own PC client or their PC gaming client, where you can buy and download games and just sort of play them on your leisure on your desktop. And it sounded like a really good idea at first, but ever since as things have developed, it's sort of people have sort of come to be very contentious with it. I want to say,
okay,
if that's the right choice of words. And part of the reason why, so there was one of the things that came out was that about the Epic Store client was that it was reading your data.
Oh, that's a bad.
Well, yes and no. It depends because we're going to go into that a little bit. But so as it turns out, the client is reading some of your data on your computer. I think it's reading some of the Steam data is what it said. I don't remember 100%. But
okay.
This led to this issue that the rumor that the Epic Store that Epic was spying on you. Because one of Epic's largest investors is a Chinese company called Tencent, who has a 40% majority of the company.
Dang.
So that's a lot, but not the most.
So
and,
it's not the entire majority, but it's a good chunk of ownership.
They're also not the only investor though. So it's multiple. They're just the biggest one.
Okay. And
so eventually, a lot of rumors are going around that this is spyware, that they might be selling your data to China, or they might be doing other shady things with it.
And when that happens, when China's involved in spyware and China are mentioned in the same sentence, it's not a very good
People aren't very happy usually.
Yeah, people aren't really happy with that.
But Tim Sweeney, the Epic CEO, did come out and release a statement, or he said on Twitter,
okay.
I got a quote right here. All of Epic's big decisions are made here in the USA, and as CEO, I'm 100% responsible for them. I'm grateful to everyone who has spoken in support. I also read and respectfully consider all dissenting arguments and fact and principle. Just please keep it real.
So I respect him coming out and at least on Twitter, coming out and making a statement. And
it was a big thing. He had more but that was the most important. That's the one I wanted to focus on because that's the most important one.
I'm happy that it's not just a generic templates. Man, it's oh, this is the basic.
It's not a PR response.
It's not a PR response. It's an actual response from the CEO acknowledging that, yes, he has heard this from the fans and from people who use this store, and they're taking that into consideration. I like when a CEO takes responsibility like that.
Yeah, and I believe him, too. I don't think he's lying about that.
Yeah, I don't think as a CEO, he shouldn't have to lie about that because he's directly talking to, his consumers and people who buy his products.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would be a good idea to actually lie to the people who buy your stuff.
And that's not saying that China won't be spying. That spyware does exist. There are companies that are selling your data, but I don't think Epic is one of them. That's kind of what I want to say. But something more interesting that happened was that during this Twitter conversation, a former Valve developer came out named Richard Geldreich.
Yes.
And he responded by saying that the spyware claims were insane. And here's what he said. It's actually pretty interesting.
Okay, hit it up.
So he said that Valve gathers huge amounts of data about virtually everything you do with the Steam client, yet nobody calls Steam spyware.
Oh, boy.
So Steam also, according to former Valve developer who probably is very knowledgeable about the subject, Steam also gathers your data, according to him, about what you do with the Steam client. So I don't know. Maybe they've seen your MILF folder. I don't know. Maybe they have. Maybe Gabe's seen it, but
maybe they look at your weird dating simulation games that you play or something. But
come on,
I mean, I know they always have I think Discord has a thing that shows what you're playing on Steam.
Discord does have that. Yes, I haven't used Discord in a long time, but I remember seeing that. So I think it connects to your PS4 too.
Yeah, because I don't think my Discord connects to my PS4, but I know that when I have played Discord, it'll say oh, this guy's playing whatever this game is, or I'm playing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or he's playing Stardew Valley. Those are literally the only two games on Steam that I play.
Yeah. Well, that's not really reading your data. That's just kind of telling people what you're doing.
Yeah,
Like, reading your data is more like
looking in, seeing like your credit card information,
stuff like that,
and,
personal information, like like your search history, stuff like that. But yeah, honestly, I'm not really surprised that like Steam does that. That just seems like it's kind of the status quo for every like big tech company.
And plus, what Steam
like,
does, like when it
company.
comes to their security, they're very uptight when it comes like their security and like having you log in multiple times, like even like sending like emails to you saying, hey, just like can you update this real quick, just like put this code in. I know they've gotten some good reviews for their security and how they take care of like their customers.
Yeah, Steam's got some problems, but it's not bad. I haven't used Steam in like 3 years, so I don't know much about it. Right, I don't know what the current state of it is like, except for a few things from what I've heard.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll use Steam occasionally, but I'm more of a console gamer.
Yeah, I'm the same thing. I do like Steam. I do like PC gaming. I don't know. My laptop's not really like cut out for PC games. Like I can't really get into it as much as I'd like to. And I don't like keyboard controls. So
yeah, keyboard controls can be really weird sometimes and really wonky.
I like the aiming. I just don't like moving with WASD. I've never like been like comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's also a weird thing that they do.
But something else Mr. Geldright came out with is that he said that he claimed that Epic is actually fixing the PC gaming industry because of Valve's current price cut on Steam. So every time you make a sale, your game, you sell something on Valve on Steam, they get a 30% cut of it.
Valve gets a 30% cut of it.
Yes, so that's like so it's like a 30% tax on everything across the board. Well, not across the board. I'll get into that later. But it's like a 30% tax on everything. And he claims that that's not sustainable. Yeah, because you're kind of like killing the industry by doing that, is what Mr. Geldrick said.
Yeah. So for example, if you sell a game for like $100 on Steam, and they'll take a 30% cut.
They'll take $30.
Yeah. So that's $30. You're losing. The developer is losing $30 right there when they sell a game on Steam.
Yes.
Wow. That and especially $30 does not sound like a lot, but when going into like the long run, like however many games you sell, when you multiply that number,
it adds up.
It adds up, and that's a lot of money that's being left off the table.
Well, Valve did change their policy on like on their price cut, and here's what it is, because this actually ties into the whole Epic Game thing and why like Epic Games and like Steam are kind of in like this like
rut,
like in like this like fight right now.
Okay.
So Valve used to take 30% across the board, but then they changed, or Steam they changed the there's tiers to it now.
Okay.
So if you sell between $10 million and $50 million dollars, on Steam, like that, and that includes like DLC and like in-game purchases.
Yeah.
Valve will shrink their cut from 35 to 25%.
Okay.
And then if you go from if you rack up, if you get more than 50 million, they'll take 20%.
Okay.
So that sounds fine, but it kind of screws over indie developers.
Yeah, indie developers get really screwed.
How's an indie developer supposed to make that sort of unless your game like gets lucky and like really takes off? It's really hard for indie developers to like
because imagine something like Fallout, if it because Bethesda will sell a lot on
and Bethesda
Steam.
has actually come out in support of Steam. Well, not in support, but they've claimed that they're gonna like keep their games on Steam because that's another thing entirely, the whole exclusivity thing.
Yeah, but it's just an example. Let's say Steam sells a bunch of copies of Fallout, and big developer, big name Fallout. Everybody knows what Fallout is, especially in the gaming world, everyone knows what Fallout is. And they're obviously going to eclipse that 50 million mark and get that 20% off. But if an indie developer, like just some guy living in his basement, spends like his entire a year or two making this game, and he tosses it on Steam, he's gonna be losing a lot of money, especially considering all that time and effort he put into that game.
Okay, well here's the real like kicker. How much do you think Epic is taking on the Epic Game Store?
I'm gonna say Epic's gonna be taking. I'm gonna take a guess. If I'm gonna guess, it's probably less than Steam. So I'm gonna say 15%.
It's actually less than that.
Really?
They're taking. Epic only takes 12%, and that's across the board for everybody.
Well, that's fair. That's pretty fair.
It's more than fair. That's actually really good. So like right off the bat, like you're gonna get you don't have to worry about selling like $50 million. You just get the 12%. Like you get the 88% cut like right away with Epic Games, and that's like that's a big thing. And
that's a very big thing too, because that means that will attract indie developers too, because they say
it's attracting everybody. Not
I can put it on Steam and I can get less money, or I can put it on Epic Games. Yeah, Epic Games. Not a lot of people like it right now, but I get more money. So, and I need to pay some bills.
And I think Epic is currently doing this thing where if they know you're losing sales by going from Steam to Epic, they actually will pay you in like those the lost sales that you're
Oh,
losing. From what I've heard, I
alright.
didn't actually see a confirmation of that, but that's just what I've heard. So
Okay, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised Epic is like doing like they're like incredibly lucrative right now.
Yeah, Epic made a lot of money, especially coming off of the Fortnite craze.
That's where it's all coming from.
They've got a lot of cash to roll around in right now. I just imagine like the CEO just Scrooge McDuck diving into a pile of gold or money or something.
Yeah, and Scrooge is probably jealous.
Scrooge is probably jealous of all the money they're making right now, but I think that I think it's a good thing what Epic Games are trying to do, but they still have some problems though. But like the money is good and stuff what they're doing it, but they still have a whole lot of other problems right now.
The Epic Store is pretty. It's lacking a lot of features right now. I actually installed it this week myself just to see what it's like. So I guess Tim Sweeney's also seen my MILF folder now.
Oh no.
But he'll thank me for it later. But yes, I guess I installed it myself just to sort of see what it's like. And right off the bat, there's no email verification.
Ooh,
Somebody can take your email and just use it to sign up for an Epic account, and like that's it. You can't use your email anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Someone can like take it like that.
Yeah.
There's also I don't think there's cloud support or like wish lists.
There's no wish list on it?
I don't think because the store is so small. It's like maybe I don't know. I don't want to say like 20 games. There's like maybe like 30, 40 games on there that I see just like browsing their library because it just launched a few months ago, so it's obviously not going to be as big as Steam.
Yeah, it's not going to be as big as Steam right off the bat, but also more than just like 20 to 40 games. Seriously?
Because they said they don't want they said they don't want like garbage games on Epic Game Store, but they also put Beyond Two Souls on there, so I don't know what he's talking about.
I think we're talking about the garbage games. Maybe like those like weird games that come out that like that people like don't even bother like putting any time effort, just like slap something together real quick, just toss it on there.
Steam's kind of like the Wild West of like PC gaming right now, but I actually kind of prefer it that way because I'd rather have everything on the table and I get to pick what I want.
Yeah.
Instead of having a very limited selection.
Yeah, you get your options. It's like a buffet. You get your options. Like here's your meat, your salad, your pork. Here's everything you want. Take what you get. Whatever you want, you can have it. But with Epic Games, I see it's more like this is what you got. Take it or leave it. Suck it up.
Yeah, and those good options are still over at Steam, so it's not like it's not like you're losing anything by going to a place with less selection.
Yeah.
But here's where the exclusivity, the timed exclusivity thing comes in. So this is where a lot of like the outrage towards Epic Store comes in, and that's the way that they've been like sort of like scooping up games these timed exclusivity deals.
Oh, okay.
So I want to say the first big one was Metro Exodus, which I've heard is great. I'm gonna start playing it soon, but I heard it's an amazing game.
All right.
The Outer Worlds recently was also confirmed to be Epic Store exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix Point, which was crowdfunded, it raised $500,000 on Fig, I think.
Oh, nice. That's pretty good.
And people were probably supporting that, expecting it to be on Steam, but it's not going to be on Steam anymore.
Yeah,
so those guys,
once it gets that Epic Games label slapped on it, a lot of people will, I assume, backed out of support of it.
Well, you can't back out. Your money's already like taken at that point. It's
yeah.
already coming out relatively soon.
Mm-hmm.
And Borderlands 3, that's the biggest one. Borderlands 3 is the one that like really
Borderlands 3 is what got a lot of people upset. Like, I mean, especially I read some game boards and like boards on social media talking about Borderlands 3. There was a lot of outrage over Borderlands going to.
Yeah, because everybody's been waiting for Borderlands 3. This was totally like everybody knew Borderlands 3 is coming, so like let's get ready for it.
Yeah, a lot of people were.
Now Steam players have to wait 6 months to get it.
Yeah.
Unless they go to the Epic Game Store, but
yeah, I mean, I know Borderlands 3. Borderlands is a very successful franchise, and a lot of people love playing Borderlands.
Probably the only good game Gearbox has ever made, to be honest. I don't like any of their other games. Borderlands 1 and 2 are the only ones that I really like.
Didn't they make a pre-sequel or something like?
They did, but I wasn't really interested in that. It didn't look as good. I don't know. Something about it just didn't look very like fun.
Borderlands, they have their own special style when it comes to video games, and when you play it, you feel like, yeah, this is a unique kind of game I'm playing. But when you're putting it in Borderlands 3, a game that's been widely loved and respected and hyped for to no end, when you're just putting on this one platform, you're not only are you limiting your own like revenue pool, but you're making a lot of other people mad, so they won't be able to buy your game.
Well, like I said, Epic will probably like pay for the damages of them losing sales, and they also it's a deal, so they probably got paid a lot to have it be exclusive to the Epic Store, and they're making a larger cut. So even with the lost sales, they're still probably making they'll probably make a good amount of money, unless this like really like blows up and like bites them in the ass, which I wouldn't be surprised.
And I'm looking at a thing right here. Does Epic Games offer offline play, or do you have to constantly be online?
I don't remember. I didn't check that part.
I think you have to actually be all the time online on Epic Games Store to play games.
Yeah, I know offline mode. I think I heard something about that, but I didn't actually check for myself, so I can't like say whether or not that's true. So I wouldn't be surprised.
If that is true, that's another really bad thing, especially when considering it with spyware.
Yeah, the whole spyware. But like I said, that's just a rumor. I don't think the spyware thing is true. Yeah. But it is convenient to be able to play offline, because sometimes your connection might not always be like, your network might be down, so maybe you might want to play your games offline sometimes.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm also tired.
Yeah, because
I just woke up like an hour ago, so.
I know for Steam, some games require you to be online all the time, but that's like concerning like MMORPGs or like a game where you're like in a hub with other people.
Yeah, it's dependent on the game.
But if it's just like a solo player game, and it's like, yeah, you don't have to be online for that. Nah, just go ahead and play offline. But if Epic Games is doing like constantly online something like that, not a lot of people are gonna be liking that.
No, people like to have the choice to do what they want to do.
Yeah, people like options.
Yeah, and I understand why exclusivity exists, because like if you develop your own game in house, you have the right to say where it's going to go. Maybe or like with Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 2 was a game that was not going to happen unless Nintendo like footed the bill.
Yeah,
they're the ones who came in and said, no, we'll make this happen.
We'll do it. We'll let it happen.
And that's why Bayonetta 2 is a Wii U exclusive when it before was a multi-platform.
Yeah.
And so stuff like that, like it's understandable. But when it's a game that's already like coming out, and it was because like I said, a lot of these games are advertised on Steam. Like Metro Exodus was on Steam for a while. You could pre-order it.
Yeah.
And guys that pre-ordered it still got to play it on Steam. Luckily for them.
That's good.
But it's like when you go to a store and there's people like waiting in line at a store to buy something, and you like take the things away from them and you say no, go to the other place where I'm going to sell them. Mm-hmm. People don't really like that.
Yeah, it's like they're already here. They don't want to go somewhere else because they've been waiting for so long.
Yeah, and that's the nature of competition, But like, you gotta be like that. Just rings this very anti-consumer, and that's why people are so upset about the Epic Game Store. Like I think it's fine to have options. Mm-hmm. I like that they're giving developers an 88% cut on the Epic Store. I think that's great for developers, because developers making more money means they can put that channel those resources to making more games, better games, and by having a competitor, Steam has to improve themselves because they have to keep up. So it's better for everybody across the board to have competition.
Yes, I agree. Competition is good. Healthy competition is good, and that helps the consumer. But when you take away the competition, then and you control the market, then that's bad for the consumer, because they can just raise prices on a dime, and then you get screwed on that.
And that's kind of why Steam had the 30% price cut, or the 30% cut for so long, because hey, he was going to stop them.
Exactly, but now with competition coming in, they have to change their policies and adjust to this.
And they did, but they didn't do it far enough, because Epic still like has like a way like lower price cut than them.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how this exactly plays out for both Steam and Epic Games. I'm not gonna be rooting for either side, because I'd play PS4 and Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I'd like to see them both do well.
I like to see them both do well.
One more thing I found across as I was like doing research for this story, there's a little article on. I think it's an article. Might just be a blog post, but it's by a site called TweakTown.
Okay.
And there's I think the article was called Tim Sweeney thinks Gabe Newell is the smartest person in the PC industry. And here's a quote from Tim. I don't know why they misspelled his name wrong here. Tim Sweeney. Maybe that was my autocorrect.
Yeah.
Here's a quote from him. Here's what he said. Gabe Newell is the smartest person in the PC industry because he fundamentally realizes it. These gamers are smart. They know what's happening. When companies do this sort of thing, it pisses them off.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have control over their computer. They want to have complete freedom to install anything from any source. They don't want any company's product forcing them to do things against their will. Mm-hmm. That's Tim Sweeney himself said that. So do you want to try doing some of that now, Tim?
Yeah, you want to try praising Gabe Newell now?
Not the praising Gabe Newell thing, but just like the whole like taking things away from people. Like I don't want to sound like I'm coming down on Tim Sweeney, because I don't hate him. I like the guy a lot, actually.
Yeah, he sounds like a good guy, but when someone comes out and says that they got dirt on you, and then you're saying this and that today, it's like you kind of sound a little bit of a hypocrite, a little bit of a hypocritical taste in my mouth there.
It kind of does. This was like years ago. I think this was 2016. He said that.
2016.
maybe.
So
like,
people's minds
way
can
before the Epic
change.
Store.
People's minds can change, especially when it comes to business products and things.
Yeah.
But this is an interesting taste. I'm not sure how they're gonna bounce back from that.
I can see them. I can see them doing well.
Yeah, I see them still doing well because PR exists for a reason, and that it like helps you kind of like shield against comments like this.
They've got Fortnite. Fortnite's still strong.
Fortnite's still strong for now.
They give it'll be strong for a while. I think it's been going on like it's been doing pretty well. So I don't see it dropping. Maybe Apex Legends might be giving it like a little bit of a run for its money, but
yeah.
I don't think they're not gonna. I don't think it's gonna die completely. I think they're gonna be. It's gonna be like a situation where it's like Sega. It's like Sonic and Mario, where you have like these like two like sort of like big icons, like back in the '90s.
Yeah.
When Sonic games were good.
Back when they were good. Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. So you're gonna have like these two like big. They can both exist.
Mm-hmm.
And Steam will probably like match the price cut eventually because I feel like they don't really have a choice.
Okay.
And it'll probably be because Valve's got a pretty strong hand right now.
Valve is always really strong. Valve's been known for a while now.
They've got the numbers. They've got people who are mad at Epic Store.
They've got the prestige.
The prestige maybe depends on like who you ask.
By prestige, I guess I mean
there
history.
are people. Steam does have problems.
Yeah.
They've got Todd Howard with Bethesda. They've got
oh my god, Todd Howard.
Steam's got porn games. That's something
weird games on there.
Yeah, they got the numbers, Todd Howard, and porn. The three pillars of a good business.
Yes, the three pillars of a good business. And, of course, the fourth almighty pillar, money.
Money.
They have a lot of money.
They do. According to Mr. Geldreich, Steam was incredibly profitable for Valve, and that's probably why they haven't made a game in so long.
Yeah, when Half-Life 3?
Probably never, to be honest.
We'll never get... Remember they did an April Fool's joke, and they showed, like, Half-Life 3, and I was like, nope, never mind.
I don't remember that at all because I just stopped caring about Half-Life 3 so many years ago.
I think a couple years ago they had like on Twitter they put out like a giant 3 on their Twitter page, and it was on April Fool's though, and I was like, oh my god, they're putting Half-Life 3, and then April 2nd I was like, nah, that was a prank.
April Fool's jokes are getting really mean, man. Like the industry especially is getting really mean with April Fool's jokes. Did you see So I love the Yakuza games. And Yakuza put out this fake trailer for like a sort of like RPG system for like Yakuza 7.
That sounds cool.
It is pretty cool. It looked really fun, and people we want that to be a real thing now.
And now that's like, nope.
No, it's April Fool's joke. But maybe they'll make it a real thing. You never know.
Maybe they'll make it a real thing. Who knows?
Yakuza's a very weird series. They do like really like goofy things with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could probably do it. I can see them pulling it off.